intellect, and force opening the mind with Jupiter and Gemini, this week you're ready to test the new ThoughtWare process and scan for karmic viruses. The question is, did you learn anything? Greetings to my galactic family and earthly neighbors. Welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your cosmic comedian, the Sensei to Serious Joy, Sensei Christopher Witecki. My mission is to witness and report on Earth's ascension, guiding you each week along the way. We are streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, X.com, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. If you're in our chat room tonight, say hello to your cosmic cousins, tell us where you're chatting from, and what your astrology sign is. But before we dive into all those fascinating things, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather.
Did you know that discordant energies such as illness, trauma, violence, and depression can linger on a property for hundreds of years, going all the way back to the very beginning of that parcel of land? This can also happen with family heirlooms, antiques, or even previously owned furniture. If you've been feeling blocked in life, more ill than usual, or again just uncomfortable in your home, your space could be holding onto residual energies. Refresh My Property can help clear these energies remotely. Scan the QR code to get your free phone consultation today and begin clearing your space in your life.
We are initiating the new. We've come through the Gemini season, and this is an important moment because it's been a year since Jupiter has been in Gemini, expanding your thoughts, your way of thinking, even possibilities that the mind didn't know existed. And this is the week where we will actually launch this new ThoughtWare and test the ThoughtWare for what we call cosmic viruses and running systems checks. In a long run, this is the attitude, this third decan of Gemini, that's all preference from your feelings, step 2, and each of the steps going up to 29. In fact, this week we'll go from step 23 Gemini, which is a grandmaster step of Gemini, all the way to step 29 Gemini. So we wrap up the Gemini season, but we put a stress test on it because we bring our emotional field. This is a compelling time, friends, because we've been working so hard, and this marks the completion of many upgrades we've had since the COVID situation. The biggest upgrades have been in Pisces. We had Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, and we were clearing out all of our karmic debris, clearing out the junk in our trunk, so to speak, and facing those wounds and those hazards that we come across in life that are really reflections of past life traumas and dramas. That was a huge deal. It took us our entire life to actually complete that. The last time Neptune was in Pisces was way back during the Civil War, or the start of the Civil War. Then secondly, we have built ourselves what we call a WeGo. Over the April season, we worked on eliminating our ego that was based on just ourself and survival in the world, and moving on to what we call the WeGo, which is this ability to process two needs at once, at least, a duality, if you will, a WeGo that has a conscious, if you want to put it that way. But that WeGo was sort of the hardware that we needed to be able to run what we just now implemented with Gemini. In Taurus, we expanded our potential for what we can manifest. But in Gemini, we now do the most important, crucial step, which is the step of expanding the mind to accommodate all these changes. For one, expansion of the mind is not education per se. It's awareness of what you do or don't know. It's not so much that you have to know the facts. It's that you have to understand there might be more facts or things around the corner. It's also catching ourselves in little mini viruses with ourselves, where we have self-limited beliefs that are always running in our mind, negativity running in our mind, or our mind just running programs that's trying to avoid what we don't want instead of aiming straight for what we want. Since that day of the full moon, we've been starting to now open up to the unlimited possibilities of what our mind can think. Literally, the top has been taken off, and we have been now allowed to see things that we didn't see before, potentials we didn't know existed, and maybe even communications to entities or other dimensional beings that are helping us now in our path. Remember, in the step system, step 2 is I feel, step 3 is I believe, step 4 is I belong, and step 5 is I think. The mind is supposed to be built upon our heart, our feelings, our beliefs, our belonging. If a mind thought is not based on those 4, it's not relevant. And so this week, and as we're on the master path, we have step 2 opening up all the steps, which means you bring all of your feelings to the table and add a state of awareness to see what the mind does. So in a way, it's a pressure test because emotions make us impatient. Many people get a little scattered or perhaps a little jumpy when emotion is flooding through the mind. This will be the test as to whether or not you can hold down emotional, mental intention to create in your mind at least the space to create what you want, or get your mind out of the way for it to happen on its own. The mind really is a simple tool. It's been given too much power in our modern world. And I'm hoping that this end of this transit will at least have incorporated the idea that the mind needs to check in on the heart, the feelings, and what you believe. So as we look at the course of the week, the title of the week we have called, initiating the new thoughtware, scanning for cosmic viruses, running systems checks. One important thing about this week is you must be conscious of your feelings all along the way. It's very important that you spend some time in the morning, if you can, to clear your emotional field so that your feelings are providing simple backup and not additional dramas or viruses to the mental situation. You want to get a very clear understanding of what is being said inside of you and comparing that to what is happening outside of you. That is the dynamic of Gemini, and that's what Gemini does. It basically bridges at step 5 all the steps from 0 to 5, and then from step 6 all the way up to step 11. It's simply a bridge. It is not the deciding factor. So as we look at the week ahead, on the weekend, we're going to hit this grandmaster vision of what the future is probably like for us. And this is, of course, from step 23. We will feel it, step 2. We will believe it, step 3. And then that 5, we can know this is the direction. So the weekend ahead is really about seeing that new grandmaster vision for the future. And then with step 24, feeling in your heart whether you belong in that future. If you feel like it's comfortable, if you feel like it's a new home, if it provides excitement, but if anything, it cannot create any resistance. So if you have resistance thinking about this future, it needs modifications. Your heart will tell you from a calm perspective, it's the right way to go. Then as we move into the week, we'll have step 25 and 26. So you'll meditate and then really deliberate with spirit on Monday. On Tuesday, you'll be ready then to make a devotion to the direction you want to go. This is a big deal. And on that same day, Mars will ingress into Virgo. And then from that point, you take action on Wednesday, you hold space on Thursday, and you're tested on Friday. Let's begin with the sun, of course, the heart of our soul and the representative God consciousness here on earth through you. The sun this week goes from step 23 to step 29, Gemini. As mentioned earlier, this is you starting the week with a full new vision of what you know in your heart, what you know in your feelings, and you know in your beliefs to be true. This knowing then puts you on the courageous course for moving forward through the steps all the way to step 29. So we literally wrap up Gemini in this quick week. Now in Taurus consciousness, we still have a lot of construction going on. Venus has entered the scene as of last week. You might have felt much better and able to relax than you have in the past. That's because Venus in Taurus is a good harmonic with the two. Venus moves from step 7 to step 14, Taurus. So that means you're accepting now your spiritual worth, your commitments to yourself to maintain that worth, your actions to yourself to implement that worth, and all the way to your soul capital basis, step 10. Then you start to also accept your worth in the world. So this is sort of a week of getting paid because you are accepting now as the boss of your reality, the new values. Uranus this week does make an interesting turn. It goes from step 28 Taurus, which is the grandmaster step of Taurus, to step 29. Now, what that means at 29 is you'll be tested on any of the values that you have implemented or tried to innovate since 2018, any of them. All right. So if you struggle with something in 2018, like to value your health, for instance, you'll find there may be a test to value your health. That means the universe will tempt you with the old ways, make it easy for you to slip back. Now, you will not fail at 29, but you will maybe perhaps have to time out or have to start over a couple steps behind, but you will not fail. 29 is just a tested step. It also means that if you have something experimental with a business or a new revenue stream, a new way of making money, a new way of organizing money, step 29 is the perfect step to launch it officially or to at least test it. Now, also what's important, I think, is our feelings during this time. So let's take a look at the moons and where they will be. On Saturday, as I said, we're at step 23. We're getting the big picture of things. And at the same time, the moon is in the high degrees of Capricorn. And so we emotionally will commit that it feels right, the right direction to go. And then the moon will shift into Aquarius. Now, when the moon first shifts into Aquarius, it means you'll have to protect your belief in yourself. That's something that's a constant. Protect means the universe will not do anything extra to make sure you don't pick apart your belief in yourself or allow someone else to pick that apart. With the moon crossing over Pluto in this first part of Aquarius, you might feel some darkness or some weary, but you should also feel some boundaries that are protecting yourself. Then on Sunday, we move through Aquarius for the entire day, and that day is a step 24 day, so it's actually quite appropriate. With the 4, the 24 is Aquarius. You'll have the ability to really feel out where you belong. And then again, on Sunday, from the Aquarius, we go into Monday, where you'll then be focusing on Pisces by the end of the day. So after knowing where you belong, you then will emotionally focus on your karma. Now, this may sound like a big challenge, but I don't feel like it will, because as your karma comes in, you ought to be feeling maybe the old spook come up for a moment, but then another feeling, faith, come in at the same time. So you're sort of capitalizing on your faith. That's Monday night, all day Tuesday, and Wednesday part of the day. And so you could say that through those days, you'll be emotionally beginning to embrace that you've got this, and hopefully also apply compassion and non-judgment to make sure that things move forward. Then the moon on Wednesday night moves into Aries. And so we're going to feel our ego really kick in. And this, of course, is around the same time that Mars will move into Virgo, or has moved into Virgo. So we're really starting to feel the new initiative to become this thing we've been theorizing for so long. And we have that sort of mantra to go, take action, keep it up. And the universe is sort of emotionally pushing us to keep going Wednesday night, Thursday, and all Friday. And then by the time you have our show on the following Friday, the moon will be in Taurus, my sign. And so we ought to be feeling a bit more balanced and grounded by that time. Now, Cancer season is still upon us in some ways, because now we have Jupiter has moved into Cancer. Jupiter this week will go from step 0 Cancer to step 2 Cancer. The significance of that is step 2 is the Grandmaster step of Cancer. So that means that you will be fully engaged in your emotional changes and also fully revealed in your emotional insecurities and immaturities. Expect to be demonstrated in a very, very obvious, undeniable way where you need to grow up emotionally. It's okay that you need to grow up emotionally. It's been over 12 years since Jupiter has been in Cancer, and so we have not invested in our feelings since 2014, a long time. So this will be a really powerful process. It's almost like you're going to the spiritual therapist of the universe while Jupiter's in Cancer. Now, another thing that's worth noting is that Mercury moves from 9 to 20, step 20 Cancer during the course of this week. What that means is that our mind is going to be very mindful of how we feel and very mindful and triggered by how others feel. I think this is making a bigger impact on our ability to read our feelings, and is sort of setting up some of the stage of learning with Jupiter in Cancer. In the Virgo spectrum, where things are becoming, the biggest headline is that Mars will move into Virgo this week. Mars begins the week at step 28, where it squares Uranus. That was where you're resolving the construction blueprints for your heart's desires or your serious joy to happen. But then, of course, Mars will move out of Leo and into Virgo. It'll reach step 1 Virgo, and that means that you now must become self-loving on a solid way, or in a solid way. So people have asked me, well, how long do I have to get my self-love going? You have until Mars goes to step 1. At that point, you must become that self-love. It may not be an outside theory that you're just throwing at the board. Now, also things happening are some challenges, of course. The first challenge I want to talk about is that Pisces has the North Node at step 22. Step 22 Pisces means that we are taking lemons and making them into lemonade. But the only way to do that is to come to the table with emotionally pure or neutral feelings. Therefore, for this entire week, it's vitally important that you show up feeling neutral and feeling grounded and nurtured, which represents the first 2 in the 22. If you do this, you will attract to you people who are also grounded and nurtured, and so you'll be less likely to have an extreme case that pushes you towards this new enlightenment. If, however, you show up with that first 2 with a lot of drama or hurt or pain or things you haven't addressed, then you will attract that to you. And when that happens, you might find an evolution where one party gets kicked up and one party gets kicked down, or both of you become something entirely different. But the point is that the best way to handle this 22 with Mars is to just focus on every day showing up with an emotionally pure channel. Now, going to the South Node in Virgo and other things, first of all, Mars completes its transit in Virgo from 28. Mars enters its transit in Virgo, going from 28 Leo into Virgo during this particular week. What that means is you must now take action and make this self-love be real. That will be an issue if you do not. The issue will be you'll have a hard time letting go of what doesn't belong, because you won't know where your heart stands. And so you'll be confused about what to let go of. But this is what I was leading to with the South Node. With the South Node at 22 degrees Virgo this week, you must be conscious of the fact that things will collapse from drama. This will be one of those last moments, so to speak. You remember when you were a kid and the teacher's like, this is it. This is your last chance, kids. If you don't quiet down, you're all going to detention, right? That last proclamation is your last chance. And so ultimately, the universe wants to break down all these systems that have become our reality, all these poisons that become the reality of our food, all these things that are off tour. We are seeking for them to break down and break out of our life. So for those who don't show up with a pure emotional field, I think you may get caught more up in the breakdown than you do in your own personal breakthrough. If you show up aware of your feelings and where you want your feelings to be going next, then it'll be a very clean demolition that the universe will do with nothing getting hurt along the way. Fear is still prominent this week, however. Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio moves from step 8 to step 9 Scorpio. This means that you will have any past life karma traumas that had to do with making the wrong decision for yourself come to the surface. Now, do not be confused. Just because you are feeling that you blew it one time, that's not your soul telling you that you're blowing it this time. The point is to understand the arc. And the biggest arc of any transition is that you feel differently about yourself and your life. So Black Moon Lilith at 8 and 9 will be bringing up fears about making the wrong commitment to yourself, or failing to commit to yourself, or failing to act on your own behalf in past lives. It could come back to that fear as you worried about this life. But remember, you can, if you have no credible evidence, false evidence appearing real is what we call fear. It's not the evidence that really matters. Pay attention. I brought this up already, but it's worth saying again for the final note here of the planets, and that's Pluto at 3 degrees retrograde in Aquarius. It is vitally important that you protect your belief in yourself right now. Even if you're not 100% certain, go ahead and close the doors to any discussion or debate about believing in yourself. And I recommend that you never let someone else in on that core level of the first 11 steps unless they are your partner for life, all right? And you've already trusted them with these delicate details. Otherwise, if you don't protect your belief in yourself, you'll be a bit of an exposed wound, which means you will then draw on people who are skeptics, which means your energy will be postponed on your own potential because you will be brought down this pattern of down this path of defending yourself and what you believe in yourself. And that, my friend, is the danger. We don't have time to question if we believe in ourselves. Pluto's saying you just must, and so it is. All right, friends, it's an interesting perspective for what's going to happen. And we have some horoscopes for you in a minute. But first, we want to talk about this week's show's sponsor. This week's show's sponsor is Michelle R. Jones, one of our talented speakers from Unite the Light in the Clean Living panel. Michelle is a transformational coach, an intuitive healer, and author devoted to helping individuals reclaim their power, their presence, and their purpose.
I help people to kind of get in touch with their gut, which some people believe is your first brain now, right?
Right.
And what the coolest part about what I do is that it's not like I sell anybody on anything. Like, people come to me because they know that they need to get to me, either for higher self work, colon hydrotherapy work, how to have like living food in your world, how to create your purpose, how to tap your intuition, how to align chakras, systemic like energy moving through the body. I take care of people to help them to realign their integrity within themselves for their mind, body, and spirit. And the integrity is really the right relationship. It's not like a moral judgment or anything. It's just right relationship. And I feel like a lot of people in this world know that they're not in right relationship and aren't always sure how to get back into it.
Hello and welcome to Soul Horoscopes, a portion of our weekly show where I give you a soul horoscope for each of the 12 signs. And I always sort of focus the data on some of the key points of the week. So as always, because they are the first of the Zodiac, let's begin with Aries. Aries, you are, in this wrap-up of the week, really working on your attitude, your intellectual properties that you're going to manifest, and the big ideas you're going to chase after. Now, be mindful that these ideas and this strategy must be coordinated with your feelings. You must feel and each day think about it. You must feel and feel a connection to the idea and it make logic. And through the week, of course, you'll be working to then commit to a vision. You start with a commitment to a vision, which will be on Saturday. And then by the end of the week, you'll be tested on that vision for validity. Be mindful that you must commit to that vision 3 days after Sunday. So you're committing to the vision really on Tuesday through Wednesday. So you want to spend this weekend coming up really clarifying your vision and accepting it to your heart as true for you. Then with Mars and Leo on Sunday, squaring Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, this will be a tug of war between your heart's desire and your capacity to make money. So you're going to have to find a compromise where your heart gets what it wants, and at the same time, you earn what you deserve. And at the same time, don't be afraid of innovating the way you make money. You know, the models that exist right now have been in forever, such as, people have monthly subscriptions, people buy one thing, people buy in wholesale. All these structures of how we sell things could also be innovated. So don't let the structure stop you. Use that Mars impulse and push forward. And then later in that morning, Jupiter in Cancer will square Saturn in Aries. So that means that your expansion of emotional self-nurturing will be sort of caught up with your desire to be strong. And so you're going to recognize that you cannot be strong in the new era unless you are emotionally well-nourished. And that's especially true energetically for the whole month of Cancer coming up, and true for this last week of Gemini. Again, every day you start with how you feel about your life and then something else. So nurture your feelings to set yourself up. And if you do nurture your feelings, you will be in control. So I would say feelings come before the control. And then lastly, Mars in Virgo means a shift now to your health and your daily life in your body. Do you live in the future? Do you live in the past? Mars in Virgo is saying your ego now wants to coordinate with living in the present. The present is the present, but the present is what sends tomorrow. And so you're being pulled to be in the present. And if you've ignored any issues with your body, you could find inflammation and issues coming up right now. I would say take whatever organic anti-inflammation you can, because Mars in that first section usually does cause some dis-ease due to things caught in the body. It's a good time to cleanse. It's a good time to clear your body of toxins. Taurus, this final decade of the Gemini transit for you has to do with your perception of abundance. You may not realize it because you're very intellectual and you have a lot of great ideas that become great things and great products and services, but it's your feelings and the feelings you put into your life that turn into the possibility of abundance. That's because people will pass on a feeling. If something makes them feel a certain way, they got to tell everyone they're close to that they feel good about it. And then those people tell people, and those people tell people. But it's the emotion that you put into the work. It's the emotional dynamic of what you put into your work. Now, you just spent several months kind of re-engineering the way you feel and respond to yourself with Mars coming back into Leo after its retrograde. So when it comes to stepping up to your emotions and adding those to great ideas, you are ready. You just have to follow through and take the steps, prioritizing your feelings before your work or other things that you do. Now, on Sunday, you will have a couple hiccups in the giddy up as we have Mars and Leo square Uranus and Taurus. For you, this will affect you harder than others because Mars in Leo is ultimately saying it is time now to implement and commit and devote yourself to the new emotional foundation. Keep in mind, emotional foundation may not be defined by money. It may not be defined by a leader in the market, or might not be defined by, having a huge ranch and property that you have. Those are the old 3D versions of emotional security. So you have to be willing to be flexible in your definition of emotional security, act on the new age points of emotional security, and this will allow you to raise your character's potential for abundance. Uranus at 28 is helping you to sculpt a new character and a new interface to the world that represents all of your changes. But this says you have to be conscientious of how you feel in order to actually pull that off in the first and build that character. That character is built on good emotional foundation. Now, later in the morning, you have another square. Jupiter in Cancer will square Saturn in Aries. Jupiter in Cancer is commanding that you bring your heart into your dialogue with yourself. And not only you bring it into your dialogue with yourself, but you feel that love as you are talking to yourself. I am guilty of this, I have to say right now. Thank God it's for Jupiter. And what this says is if you are not doing this, you will not have the command to hold faith. That faith is necessary for you to nurture your feelings and nurture them through emotional self-awareness of your self-love. And then Mars in Virgo, we got some good news for you. Mars in Virgo means, first of all, you're finally done with the home family issues and you're ready to move on from the castle into love. The first step is loving yourself. So you will be hypersensitive of your self-love. In other words, your heart might get angry, your inner child might want to throw things if your inner child is not being loved enough. So as Mars moves into Virgo, recognize that anger equals that you have been abandoning yourself and you need more attention. Gemini, as you wrap up your birthday transit, you are putting the emotional touches on your character and you're developing your character responses that come from feelings. Now, here's the thing, Gemini. You're not very interested in thinking about feelings. That's always been the case. That's because you have Virgo in that consciousness, and it's just too many details, too much to deal with. You'd rather not deal with all the details. And so for you, feelings equals your capacity to get bogged down in ideas and bogged down your mind. But let me tell you, your mind has no business doing anything about feelings. Feelings is a completely different state of awareness that you must emotionally nurture through things like, warm hugs and cute puppies and all that sort of stuff that worked for you as a baby. And so what this is saying is for you to really step into this new character, you must be a hybrid blend of what you feel and think at the same time. And this week you'll have the abilities to step into that, with most likely you deciding over the weekend the vision to aim for with your character, and then by Tuesday devoting to that character. Now, with the square of Mars in Leo and Uranus in Taurus, it means a tug of war for you, Gemini. Your ego has been focusing on thinking and getting your ideas together and moving forward with a plan that you love, because Leo is what rules that. And you've been sort of planning and spinning your wheels about what the plan is for some time, as Mars had retrograded. But this must be also compared to Uranus in the 12th, which is commanding for you to manifest a faith in the universe and a faith in yourself at the same time. In essence, this square says, if you are not having your mind on the right track, which are based on loving thoughts of yourself, loving thoughts of life, and loving thoughts of the future, then you will not be able to manifest that rock solid connection to spirit or be able to download your spiritual mission in this life. You're going to be blocked if you're not positive in your thinking. The other square, Jupiter in Cancer versus squaring Saturn in Aries, says that you must also, as Jupiter goes in Cancer, focus on energetically what you feel your value is. And so if you're not conscientiously adding to your value and expanding your self-worth value and feeling more valuable every day, then Saturn in Aries is going to not permit you to really take command of where you belong in the world. So your emotions around self-worth create power in the world. And then lastly, with Mars in Virgo, you're now going into the emotional field. You're now going to be working on your emotions from early childhood, any anger you have from your parents or your mother in particular, and your capacity to self-nurture. Now, I opened this whole thing saying, if you don't self-nurture, you won't be the best character you can be. So Mars and Virgo is bringing all the energy you need. You will have the energy, but you must follow through. Cancer. Hello, Cancers. You've got Jupiter heading for your sign, and that's an exciting thing. But let's first talk about what's going on with the rest of Gemini. In the final decan of Gemini, you are going to mix your feelings with your ideas about God consciousness and the universe. It may be actually a moment where you completely flip the script on what you think about your role is, your connection is to God, who you really are in spirit form, and your connections to angels and ascended masters and anything else mystical you might be aware of. Just realize that this is not something that has to be thought first. It has to be felt first. Don't go with any idea, that doesn't feel correct. And if you show up to the table not feeling good, well, then you must first bring yourself to emotional neutral or neutrality, and then potentially comprehend the ideas of God. So this week, you are basically going to manifest a new relationship to God, universe, and you're going to test drive it as well. Now, what happens after that, that opening up and envisioning what this might be, on Sunday, the God time here in the United States anyways, Mars will square Uranus and Taurus. Mars and Leo squares Uranus and Taurus. Now, this means that for you to be able to really move forward with your capacity to do well, you have got to continually love on and stroke, basically energetically, your sense of what you are worth. If you do not move forward with your worth and act on your worth and invest on your total worth, a worth that you feel but can't prove, this will probably have issues with your ability to take your place in society, that you will not feel empowered to be in society. You will not feel like you can claim the real estate that you belong in if you are in fact not nurturing your feelings of self-worth in yourself and the manifestations of abundance that you want to manifest. You're not going to be able to say, I'm this in society, if you're not commanding your worth on the inside. The other square, which is Jupiter in your sign squaring Saturn in Aries. Now, first of all, Jupiter in your sign means that you'll be expanding for the next year all of your ideas and all your feelings about who you are, and you'll be changing your own ability to respond to yourself in the moment in order to get what you want out of the interface. In other words, think of it as an actor or an actress. You're going to learn how to bring your feelings to that tone, regardless of what may be going on with yourself, and use that emotional tone to get what you want and how you want to do well in the world. So it's all based on your emotional response to yourself, which comes through the ego. What this says is this is squaring your 10th house, which is Saturn in Aries at 1 degree. And that square indicates that you must first be strong in the way you nurture yourself in the first house. Be strong and good to you if you ever want to be a leader or lead your own path and destiny. So your capacity to rule your future is based entirely on your ability to respond to yourself in a kind way. And then lastly, Mars in Virgo means that you're going to now start to reorganize your thoughts. You may have in this first period of Virgo, Mars and Virgo, angry thoughts that come up, or discover hatred thinking to yourself, or negative, dark, ego-based thinking of yourself, or judgment of yourself. So the first chapter of this is to stop being judgmental or negative to yourself in your self-talk. Leos, you are now in this final wrap-up of the Sun in Gemini, finding your heart's place in society. Leos are being reassigned to a place in the future where they will have an impact on society. So you could say that right before we have this frequency war, right before we have this change in humanity, the Leos are suddenly finding themselves at a new place in the world, new position, new title, new authority, etc. This new position, however, is based more on your feelings than they are on your thoughts. The master degrees of the 11th house are all based on how you feel and then what you think. So I recommend you navigate these final decisions by how you feel. Put a blindfold on and feel if the opportunities are good for you, if they resonate for you, if you feel you belong with them, you do. Do not worry about logic or ideas or resumes or anything like that. The new reality is based on creating emotional feelings and people being attracted to other people based on those feelings. Now, Sunday may be a little difficult because Mars is, after all, in Leo at the time when it squares this energy that you have with Uranus and Taurus. What this means is Mars is working on your first house and building your character. That means your ego is very driven right now to become this new character, this new shining example. And so you must live true to your commitment to how you want that character to feel, because Mars is at 28 degrees, commitment to a feeling. You must be committed to that feeling inside of you, which will then project that feeling outside of you. And this will allow, with Uranus and Taurus, for you to take your career and your legacy potential to a higher level. In other words, this square is saying if you're not conscientious of your feelings when you are acting and reacting in the world, you will not be available to law of attract the opportunities that no one else has. Now, Jupiter in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries just hours later means that you are going to be expanding your inner faith in yourself and expanding your faith in the universe, and that you must expand the feeling of that faith, the feeling of it, not the idea or the knowing. And if you expand that feeling, then you can, in fact, with Saturn in Aries, claim what you believe as true. What you believe about yourself is true. What this is basically saying is that if you don't nurture yourself and feel that you have faith in yourself, you will not be able to claim that what you believe in yourself and what you're claiming to society is true. People will feel there are cracks in the pavement. Lastly, with Mars going into Virgo for you, it means it's now going to be a money-making period. The first step is eliminating any details that you hold yourself to, any judgment that you put on yourself that's in the way of your soul capital or in the way of you feeling really valuable. You want to eliminate those parts of your life, and you want to avoid blaming the world for what you earn or don't earn. You are in complete control of what you can earn, and it begins with how much you value yourself in private on the inside when no one's looking. The more you treat yourself like a king or queen on the inside, the more the world will pay you like a king or queen. And that is Mars and Virgo. Expect to first remove what doesn't work before you move on to what you want to work. All right. Now, the Virgos. Virgo, you are doing a career legacy wrap-up with the Sun in Gemini. That means that you are combining how you feel about the future with your incredible detailed plans of what you intend to do. It's also a thing that will keep Virgos in balance. If you do not feel out before you think, you will burn out. You will short circuit. You have Gemini in the 10th house. That means your mind can run you ragged trying to get to a tomorrow that you never get to. It's because in this third master decan, you don't consider your feelings. And so as a result, the details that are important may be missed, and the details that are not important may not be dismissed. And so only your feelings can tell you between the important and non-important details. And the Master Virgos understand this and practice it. So this whole week, you'll commit to a vision for your career legacy. And by the end of the week, you'll be tested on what that vision is. So expect the test, Virgo. It's how you come into perfection. Now, the squares that happened this weekend on Sunday, each will bring some more help to bring you into a core balance and find compromise between yourself. Mars in the 12th says that you are really trying to build and find your spiritual legacy, your spiritual mission on Earth. Your spiritual mission on Earth would be both what you had wanted and expected for yourself, and secondly, what you wanted to gift the world, or where you want to be a representative of God consciousness or a representative creation in the world. So you are driven by that. Now, the square says that you must be clear on exactly who you are with God and feel that and commit to that feeling. That feeling should be deemed as your faith. And then once you have that faith, then with Uranus and Taurus, you'll be able to manifest your legacy, Uranus Taurus is allowing you to innovate your legacy beyond what has been so far. You may find that once you recognize this connection to God or this promise you made in the company of heaven before you came down, that this promise is why you have this legacy or is why you have this purpose. So it's the faith in spirit that leads to the purpose and believing in the purpose. Now, the Jupiter in Cancer square against Saturn in Aries is a different toll. Jupiter in Cancer means you'll be expanding now your place in the world, but first you must feel like you belong there. If you don't feel you belong in that place in the world, you will be rejected by the world as you have in the past. And little did you probably know at that time that your rejections were all based on what you're feeling about yourself. The world was going with your cue and your programming. Now, what this says with the square is that you must feel that you belong out there in the world in that proper place before you have the strength to change the boundaries with yourself. That you won't be able to reconstruct and take power over your trusting yourself if you don't feel you belong in the first place. So one must beget the other. Now, here's the good news. Mars moves into Virgo. Oh my goddess. You've had Mars in the 12th house for so long. I'm really actually feeling some empathy for y'all, like having it that long. That's a bad, hard transit. But it does mean you cleared and cut many cords and ended a lot of timelines that have nothing to do with this present moment anymore. Mars in Virgo says it's now time to treat yourself better. If you've cleared the karma of not feeling guilty, then stop treating yourself as though you are guilty. If you filled the karma and changed the karma and understand why it is you were abandoned in life, then don't abandon yourself in a given moment. Follow through and be there for yourself. In essence, with Mars and Virgo, you are empowered to be what you must be in order to come what must come. And so now it's not time to fake it till you make it. It's time to be it. And it starts with being the inside voice that coaches you the way you wish you were coached. Let your own vision of perfection turn around and treat you that way. Libras, I'm happy for you. You are now going to step into your life purpose and mastery. This last chapter of Gemini for you brings in an element that you don't always like to pay attention to, and that's your feelings on the matter. So this last decan is about you feeling your way to your precise purpose. Precise meaning it will only be your feelings that tell you to go one thought over another. It'll be your feelings that take on one statement over another or adopt one term or another for how you coin yourself in your legacy. So you're wrapping up your life purpose in preparation for now the career in the next transit. Now, the squares we have on Sunday will set the record straight for a couple of conflicts within you. One is the conflict between society and your personal trust in yourself. You right now are trying to get ahead energetically in your career. You're trying to get ahead in your place in the world. You're trying to find a place where you feel love and you feel you belong. And so your ego's been working on that now. You're now ready to manifest that place in society and really go with it. But what the planets say is if you're not aware of your feelings and that you're actually going for a feeling in the world and not an actual objective, then you're going to find a hard time manifesting the changes in your life that you want to change. Uranus and Taurus is helping you to take this energy to transform yourself all the way to butterfly. You have the possibility of complete alchemy and changing your life to where people just cannot believe how much you've changed. But the astrology says that will only happen if you are committed in your heart to a feeling of where you want to be in the world. Where's your people? Where's your tribe? And what do they feel like? Now, that square also later in the day creates a conflict between your career and your partnerships, which is common, by the way. We all have we have tension between our career and partnerships because partners are what sort of square us off and keep us on the right path. They tell us when we're veering off, for instance. But in your particular case, you have been really focused on all of your commitments as far as, and especially now with Jupiter, expanding your career, expanding your place in the world, expanding your legacy. This is an emotionally driven issue, by the way. And so if you don't feel your future, you will not see your future. But the astrology says you must understand and believe in what your feelings are telling you if you want to take power in your marriage. Saturn at step 1 is saying you must put self-love as the mantra of your partnerships. Did you hear that? Self-love is the mantra of your partnerships. Love yourself more and you'll find your partners get along with you. And that must come only after you have felt through that self-love and you can identify that self-love in your career and in your decisions. Now, Mars in Virgo does mean that you're up for a bumpy ride around the corner. Mars is moving into your 12th house where you are storing billions of details about times when things went wrong. Your goal is to remove all the details, in other words, to neutralize those threats and to come to a different term inside yourself about whether or not that would actually manifest again. So you are pulling weeds in your soul garden, basically, and you have to pull every weed to make sure that the flowers grow here on Earth. Scorpio, you are now on the precipice of changing your life in a huge, huge way. Now you rule I don't know if you know this, you rule boundaries for the whole world. The boundaries you accept, the boundaries you define, or the boundaries we end up causing or making choices from. So we have the boundary to be good or bad. That boundary came once upon a time from a Scorpio who defined good versus bad and gave us that boundary and that choice. But right now, you are actually changing what you define as the big, big, big boundaries with the world. And what you may not realize is those boundaries must be chosen not by an idea or a thought or a concept. They must be chosen by how you feel. Yes, even though you are powerful and you take credit in your integrity, at the end of the day, God and universe wants you to feel your way through it when it comes to where the line is. You will naturally feel where the line ought to be. Your heart will agree when you feel it. And only then, when you feel it in your heart, you should choose words that stay in that consciousness and support that feeling. So you may not have known the highest master boundaries are determined by what feels wrong and what feels off the mark. And then the mind comes in after to describe it and communicate it. Now, with that said, you're wrapping up your transformation transit. You're wrapping up the necessary pieces for you to have intimacy. And Sunday, you'll have a couple of readjustments or tests or squares that will make sure you're in the right purpose and right line. First of all is with Mars in the 10th. Right now, you've been working to improve your career, improve your legacy, improve your power, open up that door, break the glass ceiling, get past what you haven't been able to get past. But Mars in the 10th says you must commit to a feeling, the feeling of being the CEO. You must have the feeling of being successful. You must harbor the feeling of success before success will come. If you are not harboring the feeling of success, then you'll find tremendous struggle and hold back from your partnerships, your long-term partnerships, your long-term business ships, your long-term relations that are even maybe a life coach and a client. These long-term partnerships want to go to a higher level that no one's ever seen before. And you are a person that could actually forge that new dynamic. However, if you are not looking at your success or failure as an emotional tone versus a mistake in your mind, and if you're not paying attention that you are the one actually who believes in yourself and is the one who can actually make this happen, then you're going to find that your partnerships hold you back. Now, the other square is between your life purpose and your actual daily lifestyle. The universe is saying you must put the feeling of what believing in yourself much before how life turns out. If you don't feel that you believe in yourself, then don't even bother examining your lifestyle or what may happen. You will take control from being a slave. You'll take control from being overpowered in work and other things if you're in complete control of how you feel about what you believe in yourself. And Mars, lastly, in Virgo says, you're about to get ready and go off. You're going to now move forward with a new place in society. You first must actually get rid of all the details and forgive all the details that you're judging yourself about not being enough. If you carry any details about how you don't belong or any even expression that might be possible, you're not going to move forward and your anger is going to rise. So if you're angry next week about how people don't respect you, blame your self-judgment happening in millions of details. Sagittarius. Sagittarius today and through the week is wrapping up their transit when it comes to marriage and partnership. And the thing is that Sagittarius are very, very heady. You are full of philosophy, you're full of jokes, you're full of fun, and you're always in the mind. And it's like time just flies by when you're with the Sag because you have so much to chat about. But the truth of the matter is the core of the long-term connection to anyone, a husband, a wife, a life partner, or even a business partner, is how you feel about the relationship. So Sagittarius must incorporate their feelings in their long-term strategy. If you feel like it's not going to happen, that is an answer you must pay attention to in your mind. It doesn't matter that you don't have evidence. It doesn't matter that you can't prove it. You feel it. And to go against your feelings is where you cheat on yourself and then you find yourself cheated on. Now, this is the wrap up. But there are two squares that also put you into an adjustment period on Sunday, a radical Sunday. First is Mars and Leo. What you're realizing is it's not that you don't have enough information. It's not that people are going to argue with you because you got the facts wrong. It's because when they feel you, they don't feel like you own it and that you know it. They feel maybe back and forth. They may feel your attention on them, but they don't feel you being a know-it-all. Until they feel you being a know-it-all, you're going to have a hard time fixing your daily lifestyle. The astrology shows that you're having a hard time making the life you want, not because you're incapable, but perhaps because you're not really feeling what you believe. You're just thinking it and analyzing it. And so you're not really plugged into your power and potential to manifest, or I should say to materialize. That's my new word. Now, the other conflict is between, of course, Jupiter in Cancer and also Saturn in Aries. Jupiter in Cancer means that you're going to now change where you feel the line is with everything. That every boundary must not be logical. Every boundary must not be because someone crossed the line. Every boundary should be pre-created based on what would make you feel the safest. And the square says, unless you feel the safest and you feel loved and you feel that you can trust yourself due to proper boundaries, you will find that you have a problem to actually have your dreams come true. The universe wants your dreams to come true with Saturn and Aries. It wants your heart to be the happiest thing that has ever been. But because you have not based your emotional protection, your protection in life and your shelter on what you feel, you based it on theories and education and other people's ideas. That's why you're not safe enough to manifest that personal dream. So having a hard time manifesting the dream is because you have not considered your feelings when it comes to trusting yourself. And then lastly, some good news. Mars in Virgo means for you, you finally are going to improve aspects of your career and take your career to the next level with Mars in Virgo. You're going to do the hard work. But first, as I said to everyone, the first thing you have to do is get rid of all the details that you judge yourself about that keep you from making the right decision. Right now, most of your decisions are not based on what your heart wants. They're based on criticism of you and avoiding the mistakes rather than creating the actual solution. Because most of your awareness is trying to avoid mistakes, all you're doing is avoiding mistakes. You're not getting where you want to go. So in this first chapter, you want to focus on eliminating any ego response to your prior mistakes. Get rid of it. Say the magic words, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be judged for it because you're not going to judge yourself. Capricorns, you are now moving forward with the completion of a new vibration of lifestyle. Now, lifestyle for Capricorns have usually been a playlist of all the things they want to own and control. So you couldn't have a good lifestyle if you didn't have this level or this label or that label or this, designer or that designer. And so your ideas have actually blocked a quality life. What the planets are saying is now in this final decade where you choose the lifestyle you want, you must first begin with how it will feel. Sure, you can have a certain label, but how will it feel? Sure, you can have a certain car, but how will it feel? If you're not aware of how it will feel, you will not find the products, services, and details that make you happy, truly. You'll find the ones that make you popular, make you look good in society, but don't make you feel good. This is one of the reasons why Capricorns have had difficulty with feelings, is because they don't include them in their choices in daily power and daily life. So you must feel what the detail is and then ratify the detail as okay each step of the way until the final test of 29. Now, that said, as you pour the cement of your final lifestyle, Mars in the 8th is going to square Uranus in the 5th. What this means is Mars in the 8th is pushing for you to base a new life on love, to redefine all the big boundaries, to transform yourself, because you want now more than anything a life that you love and enjoy. You want a family you love and enjoy, every aspect of life to be what you love and enjoy. Well, the issue is that you must commit to the feeling of what that joy is. The universe wants to transform your life, but God universe has not heard what that feels like. And so therefore, there's no goal to base all the changes on. Therefore, you've been stuck basically in customs, not being able to move on to your next destination because you don't know what that destination feels like, and you don't know what it feels like to be the new you. So you must be the feeling of the new you. What this will do is move forward and let go of any childhood issues. You'll be able to innovate your ideas of security to a new level. You won't have to have a lot of money to feel secure. You won't have to have apologies in your family to feel good about your family. You will, in fact, move forward when you base your transformation on feelings, because once you base it on feelings, then you'll actually know how to create a home and family based on feelings. So the magic is right around the corner on Sunday. Lastly, Mars in Virgo means that you will now begin to pursue every belief that you truly believe in your heart and get rid of the beliefs that you don't really believe. Now, the issue here is you've held on to details such as scientific studies, other people's analysis and study of life. You've held on to religion. You've held on to other people's beliefs, and you made that a detailed fact, and they compared yourself to the detail. Now, what you have studied, my friend, is other people's creations and other people's magical dreams of life. And so you're trying to live up to details your heart doesn't resonate with. So as Mars moves into Virgo, you might go through a period where your ego feels dumb and that you know nothing. But what that is actually you responding to the beliefs that you don't really believe. So you'll be clearing false beliefs about yourself and self-limited beliefs about yourself for the first 10 days of this transit. So expect to say, I know better than most of the people around you. Aquarius. The Aquas. I'm so happy, actually, as I run into you in public, just how bright you are becoming. I've been really amazed. I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, to be honest with you. You guys have been happier and sweeter than I ever thought even was possible. And so I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job. You have Pluto helping you as well. And in this transit, ironically, it's time for you to go for your personal dreams. Now, the universe wants Aquarius to have their personal dreams come true, especially now, because you are going to be, in some ways, the leaders of the new era. You will be what we try to be like, but not literally. In fact, you're not going to actually help us be individuals unless you allow yourself to be the individual you really want to be. The reason why you're nervous about that is because you don't know how the people are going to react, because you're freaks, as we all know, and you have really weird details that you like. The only way you're going to know if everything's going to be okay is if you approach your personal dreams with how it feels in you. If it feels good in you, it's worth going after. If it feels iffy, there's a problem. There's something that's going to trigger something. You have the radar to prevent from hurting anyone or freaking anyone out or creating a mass riot, but you have to feel before you go after it. And so this last chapter is any idea is good, but it's only brilliant if it feels brilliant as well. Now, that said, you have a square on Sunday that's going to help you adjust some things. For one, Mars in Leo. Mars in Leo has been pushing your relationships to others to the next level. In some ways, Aquariuses are more like the age of Aquarius in a relationship than they are actually in the rest of their life. And so you've been moving very hard and fast and steadfast and strong and being a leader among your relationships and pushing the direction towards love. But you haven't defined the feeling of what true love is. You haven't defined the feeling and committed to what you want to have with every relationship in your life. You don't know the destination of your relationships because God and the universe hasn't felt what you want them to feel like and how you want to feel in the relationships. So you must make sure that you know what relationships will feel good about and how they'll feel good before you will ever, my friend, be able to really feel good about your emotional foundation. To some degree, you're having a difficulty feeling solid and grounded or maybe safe from money issues because you're walking into your relationships feeling uncertain about how it's supposed to feel. And then therefore it's usurping your ability to really grow something solid in your emotional foundation. In a way, you could say that you're going to come from a good home when you understand this square. The second square of Jupiter in Cancer, squaring Saturn in Aries. Jupiter in Cancer says, you must love yourself now and love yourself some more in every moment of your body and your health. You must be a living embodiment of self-love. You must feel the self-love in your toes, in your hands, in your fingers, everywhere. If you feel the self-love everywhere, feel it, not think it or know it, then you'll suddenly become incredibly sharp and incredibly brilliant. What this square suggests is that because you feel like shit, you think like shit. And so your feelings in the day directly equate to what you can come up with. If you feel like you've been less than inspiring in work or in other places, it's because you don't feel good in your body to begin with. Now, Mars in Virgo is going to be pretty powerful for you. And watch out, world, here come the Aquariuses. Mars in Virgo means you must end all the details and the judgment of yourself that keep you from opening up, that keep you from trusting, that keep you from being close to others. What's keeping you from being close to others is your judgment of yourself. And when you judge others, you're only reflecting a judgment you already have. These are all based on details, not based on faith, and they're not based on self-compassion for eternity. So if you approach every boundary with self-compassion, you will change your life between the periods of Mars at 0 Virgo and Mars at 0 Libra. I'm watching you close. Pisces, you are in this last chapter of Gemini, putting the ideas together about what will create emotional security in you. That means that you feel solid. That means people feel solid being around you. That means you walk with the Spirit of God in you all the time because you have the vessel that can hold that Spirit. Now, the confusion is you've been looking only at the ideas. You haven't been looking at the ideas and how those ideas make you feel. Once you add the component of how those ideas make you feel, you'll find what true security is. An idea is just an idea, but if it's backed by a feeling, it's a powerful idea and it's a persuasive idea. So this last chapter of Gemini is about incorporating feelings into these thoughts about what security is in the first place. Now, the square happening on Sunday first begins with Mars in your 6th house. In other words, you've been trying to build a happy life and a life of joy and creativity for a long time. But universe doesn't know what that life will feel like. And although you want to love it, you don't know what it'll feel like. What will it feel like to be you in the new job? What will it feel like to be you in the new neighborhood or the retirement condo? You must be clear and commit to what that feeling is. And this will, through the square of Uranus and Taurus, open up the genius potential of your mind and your creative thinking. Remember, Einstein was a Pisces. He was a Pisces that felt these things were true and then did the math. His wife actually did the calculations. He didn't even do it. He felt it. So you could say he bullshitted, right? Not really. Not if he felt it, because it was true. So when you commit to what feels right, basically, every day in your life and aim for that lifestyle, your mind and capacity to go to a higher level will go through and shatter all glass ceilings and maybe create something that for us, like Einstein once did. The other square is between your heart and your capacity to earn money. Until you are fully feeling your heart, fully feeling your self-love, you must feel your self-love every day if you want to make a lot of money. The universe is saying you will not get paid unless you feel that self-love. So Jupiter at 1 says, feel the self-love, own the self-love, protect the self-love, And what will happen is you will feel and you will take the charge of responsibility of being valuable, that you will feel valuable because you feel the self-love going on in yourself. So the more you nurture your inner child, the more potential you can make. And lastly, Mars going to Virgo is going into your opposite sign now. You have a whole bunch of blocks and issues with other people and other relationships where you're arguing over ideas and you're not really paying attention to the fact that you are judging yourself to an infinite degree that's way out of the park. You're basically judging yourself for past lives still. And this view and judgment of yourself and all these details that you're tying it to is what's keeping you from being the relationships you deserve. You're not in harmonic relationships because it's hell living inside of you. And so once you use that ego to clear the weeds out of your marriage, you'll find that your entire garden of relationships will bloom. So Mars and Virgo is going to be a good thing, and be prepared. This is where you'll likely end relationships that no longer serve you. That's all we have for today. I'm so grateful to be of service to you all. I'm so grateful to be a part of this earth. And as we move into this final week, things might get a little dicey. Jupiter in Cancer means people are going to be very, very emotionally distressed, much like we have seen in Los Angeles, for instance. That distress will only get bigger. The way you can stay out of it is to nurture your own feelings, take care of yourself, and eliminate the possibility that you might blame the world or feel the world is attacking you when you, in fact, have the power right now to feel good right now. Those who feel good right now will do well tomorrow. You can bet your dollars on that one. All right, that's all I have for this week. I love you, friends. Live, love, be.